Howdy, folks. This is Brent Barrett from Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV. I guess you could call me the Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV primary editor, if we can get that word out. I just thought that I would record something here because Kevin had mentioned to me, I did a little bit of a recording of a snippet that I shared with the other hosts, Kevin and Wendy, for Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV about the sorts of editing tricks I have. And he thought it would be kind of cool if somebody saw, you know, what I do for a good portion of my work. And I thought I would take this episode of The Black Badge, episode 13, which is the Tim Rosen interview. I believe his name pronounced Tim Rosen. If not, I'll find out shortly when I edit the file. But I thought I'd take you along for some of this, just for some of the tips and tricks that I use, and a little bit of how things happen behind the scenes. So let's switch over really quick to our primary view, and you should now see an email. Now, there should be nothing confidential in any of this stuff, so I'll take a look before I release it just to be sure. But this is kind of where things start. Is Kevin and Bonnie recorded the interview with Tim, and Kevin sent me an email prior to this one. You'll notice this is an RE regarding telling me that he had done the recording and that he would send me some notes. And he tends to say, I ask Wendy when she records Game of Thrones podcasts, or Kevin when he does any of his Black Badge or any other show where he has people, other hosts or guests, to send me any notes of things that he might want me to get to, just to make sure that I get to them. I used to, when we had like 1, 2, maybe 3 podcasts in our channel, I would listen to every second of every I just don't have the time to listen to every second of every podcast anymore. So I want to make sure that I get things. So I ask them to do this, and they're really helpful in doing that sort of thing. So we do tend to bleep things out, foul language, mostly because iTunes requires that you rate your show as whether it's for general audiences or if it's mature, if it has bad language in it. And if you have bad language in it, they're going to make you mature, and you can't really go back. And we want to have the broadest possible audience, so we tend to bleep any foul language. So if you hear bleeps in our shows, that's why. And the Kevin and Wendy are really good at remembering to tell me where those are, so I don't miss any of them. But there's some, general things like here's where we start. There's a little bit of talk over, which is, what happens when you record remotely. When you got one person in one part of the country, another person in another part of the country, or even if you're in the same area and you're just in different internet connections. There's a little bit of talk over. Sometimes somebody will start talking, and when the other person didn't hear them start talking, and then start to talk and then stop. That's what we call talk over. So you'll see notes of talk over here that I need to correct. You'll see a comment here about inserting a clip. This has to do with San Diego Comic-Con and the crew from Wynonna Earp appearing there. Kevin was really nervous when Tim announced that, because it hadn't been announced publicly yet, that he would have a problem with that. So there's a lot of notes here about things to do, and you'll see what we do when we get there. We're actually going to take out all of the discussion about whether or not he should be saying that or they should release that. We're just going to let him say it because Emily, the showrunner, said it's fine. So we're just going to leave it in. Then there's a spoiler here. Sorry if this is a spoiler for you for Lost Girl. But there's apparently a spoiler in here that Kevin would like me to remove for Lost Girl, just because this is a podcast that's marked as Wynonna Earp. It's not marked as spoilers for Lost Girl, so we try to avoid that kind of stuff if we can. And then there's a lot of pauses. Pauses don't bother me. I can get rid of pauses really quickly. I'll show you how to do that in a bit. And then, some general repeat notes, and then an in marker so I know when the episode actually ends. So what we do is we first look at the files. I've got a folder. You see it's a structure up here. I've got podcast, TIST, specials, the Black Badge. Black Badge folder for each episode. I've downloaded the master files. Here's the actual interview. There's an intro file that Bonnie's side of it and Kevin's side of it. They recorded at the same time, but each side was recorded separately. And then this is the file that Kevin talked about possibly inserting. We're not actually going to use this, I don't think. We'll see how it plays out. But what I want to do is open up the main interview. And I'm using a tool here called Goldwave. I'm old school. There are plenty of really good editors out there for audio. I'm not saying this is the best one. Goldwave is just what I'm really familiar with and what I know how to use. So we've got 2 channels.
Because the fans are going to love the fact that you actually
got a right channel,
so we're going to ask you about that.
Which is the call, the Skype call. They did this on Skype, so you're going to hear Bonnie and Tim over there.
What we'll do
on the left up here, you're going to hear Kevin.
We'll be recording.
Kevin's was recorded locally using his microphone. This is his audio splitter recording the Skype output. So you've got Kevin local on his mic. Here's Skype output that Kevin recorded. So what we do, first of all, is we select the left. I hit a hotkey there to do that. Select the left side here, so I'm only dealing with Kevin. And first thing I want to do is I want to boost his audio a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and boost that by a factor of 8, which is 251%. And what I don't want is too much clipping. I really don't want these things going above the line. There's a tiny bit there, but I'm not going to worry about that. And then you see all this fuzz down here? Or if you can hear that. That's background noise.
Because the fans are going to...
Play that again. So that's background noise. We're trying to get rid of that. So I'm using some filters to do that. And I have noise reduction filters. I use the default noise reduction filter first to get rid of general noise. In the background, you'll see these waveforms change a little bit when I do that. See how they decrease quite a bit, but there's also a little bit of noise back there. And a long time ago, people complained that Kevin's rig produces a little bit of hum. So I always throw a light reduce hum filter on him, which gets a little bit more and gives him a distinctive sound too, that if I didn't do it, he wouldn't sound quite the same. So it's good to put that in there. Okay, now that the hum filter is gone as well, we're going to level him off. Now I've created this auto gain level that I named podcasts, which puts our podcasts at about the same audio level. You might notice that about our podcasts. They're all pretty much the same audio level. I try to get them all that way. And basically, it's if you look at this marker over here, just under 0.6 is where it's topping off, and a negative 0.3 or 0.4 or whatever it is. But it gives
what we'll do,
a pretty
Tim,
level. If you look at the gain here, it's about 50%.
Bonnie and I separately, kind of like an intro
of the audio
interview.
level over here.
Anyway, so we'll...
All right. Now, with that said, I've pretty much done his side. Now, there's some noise in the beginning, but I don't really care about it. I guess that's laughter. It's not really noise. And you get used to these waveforms.
All right, so I'm gonna get this out of the way.
Unfortunately, one thing I can't do very easily with GoldWave is mute this track. I wish I could. But I don't think there's any way to do that. No, there's no way to do that. So we're going to go ahead and reselect this, and you'll hear some noise here, but that's not going to really matter too much. We'll deal with that later. It'll all kind of blend in, too. You see it in the waveforms, but people can't really hear it because there's talking down here, so it's not a big deal. And it could be anything. It could be a breath, Kevin taking a breath, or something of that nature. And, it's natural sound, so it's not that big of a deal. Now let's switch over to the right. This is the right channel. This has got Tim and Bonnie, and they're fairly quiet right now, for me at least. So I'm going to give them an 8 boost as well. Now that's going to make these pretty tall. Who is this over here? Is this Tim?
I'm going to get this out of the way. I'm going to get this out of the way.
Oh, wow. Everybody just got louder over there. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to kind of mark down to here. Give that 8 boost again. What is this?
Okay.
Oh, it's just Tim saying okay. Then we'll come over here and we'll boost this one about 6. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and do a general noise filter. In fact, let me go back to the beginning again. Yeah, we can't do a general noise filter here because it needs a little bit of a sample of what normal sound is. So we're going to start the selection there and do a normal noise filter on this. All right, that's done. And that's usually all I do on these Skype recordings. I don't put any other kind of filters on them. I am going to, actually, if I go back to right, select all, I am going to level this off. Use an auto gain at podcast level. And then I'm going to go do a quick check across. Kevin, I'm pretty confident I've got the right levels, but since this is a Skype call and the volume levels could change a little bit, I just want to do a quick little scan. And I'm noticing that it gets kind of quiet in places.
It's like, because right now...
Yeah, so we have 2 different levels here. We have, since they're mixed together, we have Bonnie and Tim together, and they're coming through at slightly different levels for Kevin through Skype. So what I really want to do is kind of try to get those kind of leveled. So I'm going to go ahead and throw another 5 on here. And then I'm going to go ahead and auto gain that back down. And that should get them roughly the same level. All right, let's give that a little listen.
I don't know how hard I went. It's just, there was something about me.
So you're seeing that the audio is fairly good level now at this point.
Really good at this part. I knew that
there might be some
you have to do any kind of chemistry test.
Slightly quiet bits, but
they're not going to be too bad. Honest, I can't remember.
All right. With that in mind, we've got the whole thing leveled out now. And at this point, I like to save this off as a separate file, and I'm going to call it a file called 500 master, or host chatter, I should say. And that name comes from a long, in fact, I'm not going to call it that. I'm going to call it 020 interview. And the reason I'm putting numbers there is to get the files in the order I want to place them. I want to mix them in the final episode. I use the numeric system at the beginning to kind of give them in the right order. If you look at the folder structure now, you'll see there's an 020 interview, and there's going to be based on these two files here, an 010 intro file that it's going to go before that. And there normally would be an 030 outro. They didn't do an outro on this one, so it's no big deal. So now that I have that, I look at his email again. He says he starts at 44. All right, well, let's go to 44, which is around here. And you can see a countdown. This is probably a 3, 2, 1, maybe a 3, 2, 1, go.
In 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. This is
That's
Kevin.
the start. Now, normally I would cut this so that this would be the beginning of the file. I don't want to do that. The reason I don't want to do that is all these time codes are based on that. If I did that, I'd have to basically subtract 44 from this. However long this was, fix was, I'd have to subtract from this. So instead, I mute it. I use the command. It's E, and then E is mute. And it just basically wipes out all of this audio. So it's just an empty silence. So it'll start here.
Hello, everyone.
And later on, we'll deal with this. I'm going to use a command that'll get rid of all of the silences.
Cast Tim.
Now, there's a big gap here, but I don't worry about it.
Super happy to be here.
Because, again, there's a silence there. Now, that little lip smack that Kevin had there, because I saw it, I'm going to get rid of it. I mean, if I didn't see it, it wouldn't have been a big deal.
All right, so I'm going to have
And there's
to
talk
get
over.
this out of the way.
In fact, is this what he's talking about? 223?
Oh.
Nope. But there's a little bit of talk over that isn't necessary. This might be a laughter. Let me see.
Yeah, it was like shooting hand.
No, it's just breath. So I'm going to go back on the left channel. I'm going to mute that. Here on both again.
All right, so I'm going to get this out of the way. You're shooting guns? Awesome.
Yeah, I was like shooting handguns as I said that, but then I realized nobody could see.
Okay. The next note is at 223. There's some talk over. So we'll go to 220-ish. We'll go slightly in front of it. If there's talk over, it's going to be here.
Now, that was
So that leads to the next question.
Yep, talk over. Remove Kevin. All right, we will remove you, Kevin. Now there's no talk over.
So that leads to the next question. Yeah.
Go ahead, Bonnie.
Oh, there's a lot of talk over. I see.
Oh, that leads us to the next question. Somebody
Now
wanted
notice
to
that.
know.
Bonnie starts to talk, realizes Kevin talked,
Yeah.
and then kind of says, yeah. Then Kevin says, go ahead. And then she goes, oh.
You can take it, Kevin. Oh, that leads us to the...
And then she says, oh, a breath, and then that leads us into, and it doesn't sound terribly natural to start with the O. If I started here,
Oh, that leads...
you'd say, what is she saying O to? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to snip that out.
Oh, that leads us to the next...
And I'll just go right here. And now all of that can be silenced. So it ends with this.
Yeah.
That leads us to the next question.
And goes right into Bonnie, and you don't even hear anything about that talk over. What is this sound up here?
Hell yeah, it's real. It took me 3.5
Kevin breathing.
months to grow that thing.
And a bit of a laugh,
Forever.
but it's
Of
really
course I want
quiet.
to.
And
I
since
have
I see
to.
it, I'm going to get rid of it. And normally, like I said, if I didn't see it, I would just leave it there. But I saw it, so I got rid of it. I'm kind of anal that way. I'm sorry. 1347, we get some talk over. Okay. I don't see it at 1347, unless it's between Tim and Bonnie. Let's see.
I've ever played, so I'm super invested. I'm the same as them. I really, really care about it. I actually tell people, I said, I think.
Oh, it is between those two.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that.
Okay. So here we have an interesting situation because, as is very often the case, when you're told by somebody, go ahead after a talk over, Tim just naturally started with what I was going to say was.
I was just going to say that I said, I think for the first time.
So what I do is I skip over that.
I think
and then he
for the
kind of
first
stumbles
time,
at the
like,
beginning,
if
so I'm going to
something
smooth out
ever
his stumble.
I said, I think for the first time, like if
I'm going to start with I said. So let's go back over here.
I really, really care about it. I actually tell people, I said, I think.
And we're going to take all this out because it's no longer relevant.
I really, really care about it. I said, I think for the first time, like if something ever happened and the show didn't come back or whatever, now I'm going
to have to listen carefully to the context here because that's an important part of my job too is context. If I edit something and it doesn't sound quite right, in context, it's going to sound really obvious to you guys.
I'm super invested. I'm the same as them. I really, really care about it. I said, I think for the first time, like if something ever happened and the show didn't come back or whatever.
Okay, he starts with I said again, so I need to get rid of that. So let me back up and make sure I understand the full context here. Sometimes I have to do
But
this.
they're doing so much and everybody's so passionate about it that you're like, how do you not care about it? I mean, it's easy for me because I get to play my favorite character I think I've ever played. So I'm super invested. I'm the same as them. I really, really care about it. I said, I think for the first time, like if something ever happened and the show didn't come back or whatever, I think for the first time, like if something ever happened and
I'm going to take out the I said.
I'm
going to take that out. And now it's going to just
same
be
as them. I really, really care
playing
about
his favorite character, and he really, really cares about it.
I think for the first time, like if something ever happened and the show didn't come back, or
you know
whatever,
what? I'm going to take that out too.
For the first time, like if something ever happened and the show didn't come back, if something ever happened and the show didn't come back.
All right, I'm just going to have it start with if something ever happened. So I take out all of his stumble because of the talkover. So you shouldn't, in the end result, hear anything that had any indication that there was any glitch or break in his conversation. All right. Well, I'm gonna work with you guys all the way to the bleep of Tim, and then I'm gonna come to the end and show you the next steps. I'm gonna skip over a bunch of this stuff because it'll be repeating things I've done before. The next thing is 1511. There's a cutout of Kevin, and that would be 1511 right here. Okay, so what is Kevin doing here?
I'll be sad.
Yeah.
Now
passion you talked about that Emily has, and it all trickles
Okay, so
down.
Bonnie either didn't hear or smartly realized that Kevin stopped and just kept talking. What a pro. That's what I prefer. Okay, now the next thing we have is the insert clip issue, which is the one we talked about before at 1951. So we're going to have to listen to a lot of this, I think, for context. So somewhere around here.
Someone first before we say that, or I don't know.
yes.
And it was like it literally was like it's like I literally got. But
Very nice.
the mecca of all meccas. So
Okay.
yeah,
Looks
I
like
mean
they're
I don't know.
starting to talk about Comic-Con here, and then they have a discussion about whether or not they should be saying it. And now I'm going to have to do a lot of surgery here to make this sound smooth, so you guys never even knew that there was a question.
That we're going to the mecca of all meccas, so we will be at San Diego.
Very nice.
Yeah, and it was like it literally was like it's like I literally got. But I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. So can I check with someone first before we say that, or I don't know.
Okay, so he starts to talk about how excited he was, then he immediately breaks sentence to talk about whether or not he should say it. This makes it a little trickier for the edit, of course. I have to make a sacrifice here. He may later on talk more about. Let me listen to the rest of it.
Can I check with someone first before? Yeah, because if not, then like you need to understand my reaction was not as calm as I just was now. Because when I got the call from San Diego, I literally was like, "I'm going to fucking San Diego." Not that WonderCon wasn't amazing.
Oh no, I understand. I understand.
Calm as I just was now. Because when I got, because if not, then like you need to understand my reaction was not as calm as I just.
Okay, here we go. We've got some salvation here.
If not, then like you need to understand my reaction. You need to understand my.
Okay, I think I've cut that right here where he says, "You need to understand my reaction was not." I know Kevin's up there, but we'll deal with him in a second over talking at that particular moment. So we're going to come this direction to him announcing it, which is, was it here?
We're going to the mecca of all meccas, so we will be at San Diego.
Let's hear the squeeze.
Yeah, and it was like it literally was like.
Okay, right here.
And it was like it literally was like.
Okay, so now we have a yeah.
Yeah, and it was like.
Let's see how this sounds. Let's mute that out. Let's go ahead and mute out Kevin up here.
It was not as calm as I just was now, because when I got the call
Let's
from
go
San
to
Diego.
left channel only. Mute Kevin out. Go to both channels. Let's come back, and I'm actually going to snip the. Oh, I can't snip the silence out, but you guys can get the drift here. Let's go.
Very nice.
Yeah, you need to understand my reaction was not as calm as I just was now, because when I got the call from San Diego, I literally was like, "I'm going to fucking San Diego."
Okay, and there's I think the cuss at 20:03. Yep, he's going to effing San Diego. This will be up on a YouTube channel, so the swearing doesn't matter that much.
I literally was like, "I'm going to fucking San Diego, fucking San Diego." Not that WonderCon wasn't amazing.
We'll just leave that bit out, and we'll use an edit tool here called Censor, and we'll put in a beep. And actually, I only want to put that on the right side, but that's okay. Actually, if I do the right side, it'll only go into the right side. We'll put in a beep real quick. and we're going to reduce volume on that because that is loud. We're going to reduce it by 12. So this is what it will sound like now.
I'm going to San Diego.
So hopefully that's good enough censorship for iTunes, for Apple, to keep our rating. So that's good. Now I'm going to listen to the rest of this. I'm going to let you guys go, but I'm going to listen to the rest of this particular exchange to make sure they don't refer to Bonnie again or permission or any of that sort of thing and fix these things up, and I'll be back. Okay, we're back and we're a little further on, and I wanted to show you another thing that I have to deal with sometimes. Not that often, but sometimes, especially on Skype calls, somebody will be using not necessarily headphones. They'll be using speakers on a computer, and you'll sometimes get crossover or feedback. And we've got that here. Up here, we've got Kevin talking, and down here, somebody, and probably Tim, and it's no. Actually, this is a voice. I'm sorry, this isn't Skype, is it? This has been recorded on a voicemail line. That's right. Whenever we have the actors on, we try to make it as easy as possible for them. So we just have them call into a voicemail number, a conference call system. And somebody either has a speakerphone or something. And I imagine probably Tim, because he just doesn't know any better and he's used to that sort of thing, and that's fine. But what happens is Kevin comes across on his recording here. Let's give it a listen.
So much fun. Maybe you could talk a little bit about having to shoot.
See how you can hear Kevin talking again at a lower level, in this case in the right channel, as I'm editing at a slight delay. That just makes it a little more tedious because I have to go through now and find any of those waveforms. And fortunately, they look fairly easy to spot because they're in a section where Kevin's talking, nobody in the bottom should be talking, and you see some kind of bumpy waveforms, like here.
Sir.
Yeah, you can hear Kevin. So it's not that big of a deal. It just means I need to scan the whole document and come back and do all that. So that's just part of the gig, part of the job. Okay, and now we're coming to the end. That's 56:49. So we're here in
really
that rough
appreciate
area
it, Tim.
Here.
It has been a sheer pleasure talking to you, sir.
Wynonna Earp.
Thank you.
Kevin says
right,
56:49 would be the end.
The rest of the season.
Copy that, guys. It was a blast, and I will see you on the tweeter on Friday. And if you don't have TweetDeck, get to TweetDeck or TwitterDeck, or somebody set me up with an app, and it helps the whole thing go a lot easier. TweeterDeck, I think it's called TweetDeck.
Yes.
TweetDeck.
Poop deck. All right. I don't think Kevin wanted that bit in there.
Very well, Tim. Really.
Well, that bit definitely not.
Copy that, guys. It was a blast, and I will see you on the tweeter on Friday. And if you don't have TweetDeck,
let's just leave with him saying that tweeter on Friday.
On the tweeter on
that's actually 56:49. That's exactly where Kevin said to end it. So that's what he wanted. So we're going to go ahead and stop at that point. We're going to mark the rest of the file. And in fact, at this point, we can cut the rest of the file. I know you guys probably really want to hear what's being discussed there, but that's off the record stuff. I can't share that with you. So there's probably nothing there. It's probably just, thank yous and it was great. And you'll hear the episode on this day and all of that stuff, which is typical stuff at the end of the interview. So there's nothing really important there. All right. So now we have the 2 tracks. What I have not done completely is silence all of Kevin's talkback or echo, I should say, maybe feedback, echo. Echo is probably a better way of putting it. Channel bleed. Bleed. That's the right term. Thank you. Bleed over. I'm going to go ahead and silence that, and then I'm going to show you the final steps to getting this thing out. So I'll be back then. All right. So we're done. I've tried to get as much of the right channel stuff as I can cleared out now. There's no filter for that. It's a very manual process, so I might have missed some, so I apologize in advance if I did. But we go to the stereo here and we do a channel mixer, and what we want to do now is combine both channels into one. I've got a set here called Skype. That's because we used to do this with Skype. This isn't a Skype call, but the same filter works. And it goes ahead and mixes both channels into one. So now you hear them on both sides.
I got no problem. Wynonna Earp all day long.
Really appreciate it. Yes.
So now we save this off. It's called the interview still. Let's go ahead and save it real quick just to make a backup. But we're going to reduce get rid of the silences. You see this big silence at the beginning, and there's silences here and so forth. Look at the time of the recording. It's 56:49 here. If we go CFI, which is silence reduction, and there's a preset in here for podcast as well, it's going to go from a 56-minute and 49-second interview, once I reduce all the silences, to a 51-minute. So it does a really good job of that.
Hello, everyone. This is Kevin.
So
and Bonnie and I are...
Kevin, and the ending?
Copy that, guys. It was a blast, and I will...
Ends with Tim. Okay, now that we've finished with that, we have the two hosts, Bonnie and Kevin, with their different sides of their recordings for the introduction. So we're going to go ahead and bring up this host chatter, which is what we use to combine their recordings. I'm going to delete everything that was there before, and I'm going to add Bonnie's specials, TBB. It's not really a special, it's a series, but it's an old naming convention, so I still keep it. Bonnie and add section Kevin. We used to do special podcasts here and there, just one-off or a couple of episodes of something on a particular show, but I didn't have a folder for this that was separate from that, so I just left it. So now here's their two marks, their go marks. To help me synchronize, they count down. Kevin counts down 3, 2, 1, and then says go. Bonnie says go as soon as she hears him say go.
Go.
And we get that kind of a synchronization, which really works pretty well. Now, what I use that as a starter marker, and then I look at when the introductions happen and try to line everything up a little better here.
I'm Kevin Batchelder.
And I'm Bonnie Farrar.
And that looks pretty good. It could be that I need to move Bonnie's out a little bit to try to center it a little more in that gap, because I don't know if Kevin actually paused for a while before he said anything, or if that's just because I don't have him in alignment. And it looks like, here's a good place to find out. This laughter here, this will be a good place to know whether I've got him lined up right.
The interviews, and I'm like, yep, that's me.
That looks pretty good, actually. Let's look for this little input here.
Every day. I still don't really think it's real. And then I'll listen to one of the interviews and I'm like,
yeah, it looks pretty good. I think we got a pretty good alignment of their audio here from the 3, 2, 1, go. Just checking for any what we call talkover to see if there's waveforms in both, which we saw here that I was using for testing for the laughter. This is talkover, but this is good talkover. This is just responding, laughter and that sort of thing. So that works just fine. So then we go ahead and just render this out as host chatter. It combines the two tracks. I'm going to go ahead and save the changes to that project. Bring this guy up, and it'll be a waveform like the interview file. We just clip off the beginning.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tales of the...
Now we do a silence reduction, just like we did before. It goes from 3-something to 250-something. And let's just run to the end real fast. He didn't give me any notes for anything I had to do here, so we're going to lop off the end.
Hello, everyone.
And there we go. And now we mix them into an episode of the show. But before we do that, we have to create the end credits. I'm going to bring up a spoilers text file, which is, again, naming conventions. Got nothing to do with spoilers. It's just the name I always make this file. So this is episode 13, and I want to get the actual technical name for this. Let's go back to the email. This is the Tim Rosen interview. Whoops, that's where I want to be. And episode 13, these are just my notes, and I use these when I publish as well. All right, I see from my emails that this was recorded on May 18th. So we're going to go ahead and mark that as May 18th, episode 13. And I need to record the date tag for it, and you're going to watch me do that here as well. All right, just testing to make sure I've got some level here. You've been listening to the Tales of the Black... Nope, that's screwed up. You've been listening to Tales of the Black Badge, presented by Tuning Into SciFi TV, Episode 13, recorded May 18th, 2016. Go ahead and stop that recording, trim that down. We don't need this first screw-up. Go ahead and give myself some audio. Do a quick noise filter, because I have a little noise on my mic as well. And go ahead and, first of all, balance this, but I don't think I'm loud enough. Let's go ahead and add a few more in there, a volume. Go ahead and peek that guy off. You've been listening to Tales of the Black Badge, presented by Tuning Into SciFi TV, Episode 13, recorded May 18th, 2016. Perfect. And we'll just save that as a 900 date tag. It's the last thing you hear. And now if we bring up this mix file right here, I've got the Kevin's standard contact information.
If you'd like to contact
our Stitcher notification. You guys probably don't listen this far along, do you? The Tuning Into SciFi TV, so you don't hear any of this stuff anyway. The date tag is mine. I'll just make sure I get the entire sound of it, because this is referencing the size of the one from last episode. .com. You've been listening to Tales of the Black Badge, presented by Tuning Into SciFi TV, Episode 13, recorded... Yep, looks good. Save that out as our Z in credits. These are alphanumeric. We've got an A and a Z. The A is not present here, but you'll see it when I open up the actual episode. The A is our standard intro. It doesn't change, so that's why you don't see it in each individual file for each episode, each folder for each episode.
The following is a presentation of Tuning Into SciFi TV, the viewer's guide to genre television.
And there's the intro. I just want to time this right. It should be correct.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to...
Yep, there's their intro to the episode. And one thing I just realized I forgot to do was I forgot to throw our standard static segue sound, I guess you'd call it, bumper sound. And I'll do that right now. Save that off. If I go back in here, it'll tell me that it's changed. It'll open it up. Actually, it won't reopen it up. I have to tell it now to use the entire sound. And I think I just told it. No, I guess I didn't. Weird. All right.
Thanks very much for listening, and we'll turn it over to Tim.
And then the interview will start right here. So I'll just go ahead and snap that in, the file we worked on, the 020 interview. And that looks like it's got a bit of a gap there. So I'm going to actually bring it down here to other. And without, so I don't have to cut it. I'm just going to kind of lay it in there. 18th, 2016. Whoops. Just realized. That's where Z is, right? Yeah. Let's go ahead and put Z. Highlight just that. Bring Z down here. Let's go back in here and zoom in. I'm using the wheel mouse here to zoom in. Let's go ahead and slop this interview back in here again.
Turn it over to Tim. Hello, everyone. This is Kevin.
Okay.
And Bonnie and I.
That lines up pretty well. Let's grab the Z, which is the thing with the date tag that we recorded a minute ago. Lay that right over here, and let's listen to how it transitions.
Tweeter on Friday.
If you'd like to contact us here,
I'm going to give it a little bit more of a gap just because it's kind of sudden.
Tweeter on Friday.
There we go.
If you'd like to contact...
And this is full length, and we're good to go. A quick review to make sure I don't have any stray audio files in here, any fragments. Save that as audio. This will be the black badge 013, and we're good to go, folks. So, appreciate you guys watching, and I hope you learned a little bit about how it works behind the mic, as it were. This might be a series at some point, or might occasionally do something like this. But anyway, catch you next time. Bye-bye.